Hello everyone, I'm Day Weather Meteorologist Don Day with your Public Lands Council weekly weather update for this Saturday, April 2nd, 2022. It's being brought to you by WSR Insurance Services Incorporated and Ag Risk Advisors. What we're going to be watching for you across the West over the next week will be an active pattern, especially in the Pacific Northwest, Northern Rockies, and Northern Plains. It's kind of a good news, bad news situation. Good news, there's going to be some needed precipitation coming for some of you, but it's also going to come with cold and wind. That may be a bit stressful in young and weak livestock. You expect that this time of year, and that's exactly what we're going to see. The second and third weeks of April in the western United States could be rather stormy. Again, double-edged sword. It's going to bring needed precipitation, but it could pose some challenges as well. So it's something we're going to need to keep an eye on as we go into the first half of April. Over the last week, there's been some good news. California here has picked up its best rain they've had in weeks, especially in Southern California, but along the coastal areas and some of the central valleys and parts of the Sierra Nevada did well. We also saw more precipitation out on into the western high plains. Nothing really heavy, but every little bit helps. And again, we saw a little bit of moisture across the northern plains and a little bit in the Pacific Northwest, but certainly everybody needs more. And you can see that with the anomaly. Lots of brown here still. Where you see white, precipitation's been for the last week about average. Where you see the brown, it's been below average. Green means it's been a little bit above average. And you can see right there in California and a little patch here in northeastern Colorado, there's been a little bit more in the way of moisture. The drought monitor still showing all the excessive drought areas. The southern plains here continues to be a concern. This area, as well as California, stretching up into Montana. Now we've seen some relief. We've seen some improvement right here in drought conditions. And based on what we're seeing in the forecast, there's a little bit of help coming for these areas here as we get into the next week or two, and perhaps even into some of the western high plains here, maybe up in the eastern Montana, western areas of North Dakota as well. This is why. This is for Tuesday. What we see by Tuesday is a very strong jet stream wind diving into the Pacific Northwest and Rockies. And think of these very strong jet stream winds as just a way to transport Pacific moisture and push it into western North America. So what we're going to see is excessive rains in British Columbia and some pretty good rains along the coastal areas of Washington and Oregon. Some of that moisture will spill over the Continental Divide and into the Plain States by Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. This is mainly going to be a situation where the snowpack gets a nice little boost. But as this jet stream comes in, a deeper storm will develop in the northern plains as we get into the middle of next week. This is by next Wednesday and Thursday. So we're going to see areas of rain and snow. And it does look like this area right here is going to be able to pick up some needed precipitation. Now it's going to be in the form of rain and snow and wind and cold. This is that double-edged sword situation. Some needed precipitation coming to Montana, the Dakotas, maybe northeastern Wyoming, parts of Nebraska, then into the upper Midwest. But it's also going to come with cold temperatures, cold wind chills, and a little bit of snow. There will be a temporary break of high pressure building in the far western areas of the U.S. as we get to the middle to the end of next week. But this area of low pressure up here in the Gulf of Alaska is going to start heading towards the west coast by next weekend. And here it is. This is by next Sunday into Monday. We're going to see rain and snow return to the western United States and a conveyor belt of colder, moist air coming in from the Pacific. So what we're likely going to see as we get into the weekend from this one, next weekend, and the following week or two after that, is a colder, more active weather pattern for the western United States. If this pattern develops as we expect, that's going to bring needed precipitation to the far west, the Intermountain West, and the Pacific Northwest, and part of the northern plains, while we see a warmer, drier trend for the central and eastern areas of the United States. So April could end up getting pretty interesting. Over the next 7 days, this is where we see the heavier moisture is. You can see in the Pacific Northwest, this is that moisture we talked about right here, getting up into these northern areas where there's going to be some help with precipitation. Also getting into parts of the central Rockies as well. But it's going to be those areas to the north and along the Pacific Northwest coast in the next week that have the best chances of moisture, while we return to, unfortunately, a drier trend right here. Snowfall, you can see the mountains doing well. The snowpack, which really needs a boost, is going to get some help. This is going to be especially true here and especially true here maybe some help into the Central Rockies as well. Even the Black Hills of South Dakota going to finally see some spring snows developing. Could be rather cool. While there is going to be a patch of warmth here in California and the desert Southwest, where these active jet stream winds come into the west and into the plain states, this is going to be a zone where temperatures over the next week will be colder than average. Our next update will be the 9th. Have a good week ahead, everyone.